Right, everyone, I'm so excited because I'm here with FIA Formula E champion, world champion, Jake Dennis, and I just want to chat with you about Formula E, sim racing, what it's like being a development driver, what it's like being a British world champion. So if we can go back, because I know you're still in the hunt here, by the way, so we'll talk about that later.
It's a slim hunt.
Crazy things happen in Formula E.
Yeah, they do.
But if we go back basically 12 months to the day probably, last year, I remember being here and seeing you on the podium with the Union Jack, and I personally found it very inspiring. And I don't know whether you've been able to take stock of that, because you've had a very glittering, I would say, junior career, winning the BRDC award and really good in junior formulas and GT driving as well. But now you're an FIA Formula E world champion. Has that sunk in? Do you see yourself as a role model to kids?
I mean, it's definitely sunk in. You know, like I think through the summer last year, I really had time to sort of switch off from motorsport, celebrate with my friends and family, and then sort of appreciate what I'd achieved. You know, it's not easy to become world champion, and the first British world champion in Formula E was pretty special. And obviously, 12 months on, we're here. You know, I'm going to have different emotions this year round. You know, it's very unlikely that I'll become champion, but just the emotions I experienced that day, with like inside the car, sharing it with the team, seeing how happy and sort of relieved they were as well, was something which I'll never forget. And we've had a really strong career inside of Formula E, and you know, I see myself being here for many of years to come, and something which I really look forward to generally the Formula E sort of future, you could say. You know, the cars are evolving so much. We've got a big evolution coming next year with four-wheel drive. So exciting times. So
for any of our viewers who don't know, Jake Dennis, you came into Formula E, you almost won as a rookie, and you've been flying ever since. And that's before that you were doing a lot of GT racing. A lot of people watching will be just doing sim racing. They'll do one race in a GT, another in a Formula car. Are you quite an adaptable driver, or how have you adapted between those disciplines?
Yeah, I think that's one of my strengths, to be honest, as a driver. If I look at myself as a whole, is I'm very adaptable. You know, I've driven a lot of race cars now, and I think the only race car I've ever not driven is a Formula 2 car. Like, it's the one which I've just never driven, and I've driven a lot of cars, and I've driven a lot of simulators. And I think a lot of people, what don't know is, obviously I'm relatively good on simulators, and my first sort of evaluation test of a Formula E driver was how good was I on the simulator. And if I was good, I was then allowed a real test. And if I was bad, you know, it wouldn't have gone any further. I wouldn't be a Formula E driver. And I think that just shows how important sim driving is nowadays. Obviously, we do all the preparation and like prior to each race weekend, and that's important. But if I wasn't fast on that day and I wasn't good at simulators, I definitely wouldn't be standing here today as a Formula E driver. And it just it shows that you need the full package nowadays. Back in the day, like 10 years ago, you didn't need to be a good sim driver. Whereas nowadays, you need to be good at both. And you know, Max is a prime example of that. You know, he's like sim obsessed. I think he finds his F1 races getting in the way of his of his sim racing. So. Yeah, I enjoy sim racing. It's something I've always done. I've got one at home, and for me, iRacing's great. There's loads of different races you can do, and just having that adaptability between sim racing, GT racing, Formula E racing for the past like 4 or 5 years now has been pretty important to me.
Well, hopefully we can drill down into iRacing. But I just want to pick up on that point, because I think you're doing yourself a massive disservice. We say you're a pretty good sim racer. Because as I understand it, when it came to the Formula E test, it was, as you say, pretty ruthless. It was a choice of drivers, and as you said, you needed to perform on the day. And we're seeing that a lot more in sim racing now, with people given the opportunity to go into real racing. I know this time last year, the Gran Turismo movie, people here, that's a movie about that. Do you have any tips for people watching, whether you know young kids or adults, whoever, that are in these actual competitions where you can win a real world racing seat and it's big pressure? You've come through it in that moment.
I mean, it's definitely pressure. Like, honestly, when I've done some big races on the simulator, like, I feel more pressure on those start lines than I do on like a race. I don't know why. I think it's because I feel a little bit less in control on a sim than what I am in real life. But nevertheless, it's super important. You know, you got to enjoy it. That's one of the biggest things. Sim racing is a bit of a grind. Like, to be good at it, you do have to put in the hours, like anything in the world. But you do need to practice, because it's unlimited. And there's always someone out there probably practicing more than you. So you need to put in the hours to be good at it. And once you are, then you sort of can generally have that knack of getting up to speed quickly and being good at them. But I think every opportunity you have to take with both hands, and whether how big or small that is, it's important. And I didn't realize how big some days in my career were, but like something which happened 5 years ago actually helped me get the Formula E seat like 2 years ago. So it's every opportunity you have to really make the most of it.
And you drive the Red Bull in the simulator. There's obviously a lot of simulator work in Formula E because so much on the software side. Can you're probably the best person in the world, I think, to answer this question. What are the differences between those sort of sims for the teams and stuff like iRacing or rFactor?
Yeah, it is a big difference. You've got the likes of like the Red Bull F1 simulator, which is one of the best in the world. Then you've probably got the Andretti simulator, which is the middle ground, you could call it, like a Formula E general basic simulator. And then you've got like what we all drive at home, which is the iRacing, is the static simulators, which is what I have, the general consumer has. And to be honest, there's a big step from, say, the Andretti like middle simulator to what Red Bull have, and you would expect that for the price cost. And that's really involved in like how much immersion you have, the quality of the screens, and then really the feedback you get through the steering, the pedals. Everything is like almost identical. The only thing you miss is the fear factor. And when I did the FP1 in Abu Dhabi in Max's car, obviously I was heavily on the sim before that, and literally the only thing that changed was just the wind on the day. It was a little bit different, and obviously just the pure speed of like, if I crash this now, it's going to be a big one. And that is something which we'll never be able to get. Whereas like the static ones you have at home to what you have like what we have at Andretti, I think they look more impressive, like the bigger ones, the big like enclosed like domes, the projector things. But really the feedback what you can get on like these SimuCube wheels now, or the SimuCube pedals, which I haven't even driven, but they look great. Yeah, like I've heard obviously great things. These things now are so well built, and the quality you can get, the tunability you have, you can tune it to exactly what you want. And if you ever get the chance to drive, like a race car or anything like that, you sort of stick with that memory, and then you can tune it straight onto the simulator. So it's pretty cool. Obviously they are quite expensive nowadays, but you see these pros now like still winning races on Logitechs because they just practice so much. Like it's pretty impressive. And then you get some other guys spending thousands of thousands trying to get the latest equipment, but it doesn't really make you any quicker. It just makes you probably a bit more consistent.
Reminds me when I was playing football, you see people with the latest football boots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you still got to kick the ball,
Exactly.
You still got to kick the ball and put it in the back of the net. And that's a bit like sim racing, and a bit, you are as good as your talent allows you to be, and you need to put in the hours to obviously be good at it.
Yeah, great message. Should we go back this way?
Yeah.
So we'll just pick up again on the sim racing, and we'll go into this season Andretti Formula E. But I'm really curious. You say you got a sim rig at home set up. What have you got? What's your setup? What do you like about it?
I gradually got into the sim racing scene through COVID, like my own one at home. But I started off with a 49-inch curved screen, and then I advanced to triple screens. I've got 4 now. I've got like the live timing above me, and then the triple screen. So I've got the full works. Got the SimuCube Ultimate with a cube wheel, I think they're called, and then the Huizenveld Ultimate pedals. So to be honest, I'm one of those guys which just wanted the best of the best. But yeah, it was a gradual blend into it of like upgrading my equipment, and I haven't actually driven it all that much in the past sort of 3 or 4 months just because I've been so busy with the Formula E. But through the winter you try and keep sharp on it, and just the things you practice on iRacing isn't so much what you'd practice in real life in a Formula E car, but just driving and keeping yourself sharp and avoiding crashes, what you have a lot of on iRacing. Trying not to damage the your eye rating.
So on that point specifically, because when I look at you driving, and I was really following you very closely last season, you always seem to. I think Formula E for me, it feels like it's sort of poker. Everyone's at the table, but you need to play every hand.
Yeah.
You can't play it safe. You can't rest in your laurels. You can't be like, I've got a faster car. You need to be in the mix of it, and it's almost heart and mouth watching you sometimes because you're always in the mix.
Yeah.
And
it's a fine line of getting it right or wrong. And last year we generally played the line well, and you manage it's a lot of risk versus reward, especially as the championship gets closer and closer to the end. Like the boys this weekend will be taking a lot of precautions not to damage anything, and I was in that exact same boat last year. Whereas this year I'm a little bit on the other hand where I can be a bit more aggressive. So it's a fine line, and as you're making all these calculations when you're driving of what really is worth it and what isn't. And you can make those decisions on sim racing as well. It's exactly the same. It's just less at stake.
Yeah.
You know, you're not picking up a massive crash damage bill for the team.
Yeah.
So, but the pressure's still there, and that's what I love about sim racing. That's what I love about racing now. Is the pressure you put on yourself, and yeah.
So talking about pressure, so when you were here last year for the first race, I don't think there gets more pressure than that, or maybe in your career, I don't know. But it was heart and mouth to watch because we knew at any moment if you lose your front wing, we'll get some damage. And was that going? Were you in a flow state, or were you? Did you feel it?
No, you definitely know about it. Like, there's so many instances, especially that race where like the two Envisions were trying to obviously manipulate me to go to the back and cause me some damage and stuff. So I was doing absolutely everything I could to avoid damage, which naturally makes you on the back foot. People realise the situation you're in and then take advantage of that. So thankfully, we ended up coming second in that race, avoiding all the chaos. It was ended up being Nick who obviously damaged his car, who was in the best possible position at that stage. And yeah, we came out on top, but like there was so many emotions through that race, like up, down, red flag. The red flag actually helped me a lot throughout the race because I was so stressed prior to that red flag because everything was going wrong. Red flag was a bit of a reset and allowed me to sort of speak to my manager, come back out on the other side with a lot more of a calmer approach, and then obviously wrapping up and winning the championship. But yeah, a big relief for sure when I crossed the line.
And do you think, has that changed you mentally, knowing that you climbed to the top of the mountain and you've done it? And
it does. Like, it really makes you know that you've done it once, and like you never really have to question your ability again. Like, everyone always has faith in themselves and backs themselves at a high level. You have to, but to be able to then say that you are world champion, and if you have your bad days, you can generally move on from them a little bit quicker. And I've experienced that more and more as I've got older. Like, I can deal with bad days quicker than what I could when I was like 19, 20. Felt like the world was ending if I had a DNF or something like that. Because obviously at that point I wasn't a professional. Whereas now you sort of a bit more of a reality check, and you see like, okay, I've had a bad weekend. It is what it is. We try and move forward from it and do the best job we can in the next race.
Yeah, on the mental side, we've made our way back to the Andretti garage. It's going to be your chariot. There's going to be so many people, I hope, here over the weekend watching you from these amazing seats. You can see everything. I think there will be. Last year I was sat there and there was, I think some of your family was there and
they would have been,
cheering you on. Yeah. Do you have a message for, I'm really thinking about people who are getting into karting, even at grassroots or a rival drive, or sim racing. Do you have any messages to them in terms of what they can do that might just help them either enjoy themselves or be faster? Or...
Yeah, I think you really just got to enjoy what you want to get into. You know, I didn't really know too much about motorsport as a young kid, and it wasn't like I was forced into the situation. I just sort of gradually picked my way, enjoyed going and racing with my dad, and gradually got better and better. And having that relationship with whoever you're going with is super important. And if you enjoy it and you put in the hours, you'll eventually get there and hopefully end up somewhere in Formula E, Formula One, or wherever you want to be. So, best of luck, try hard, and enjoy it.
Well, Jake, it's a great message, and personally, it was very inspirational seeing you win last year and get the championship. And I think you're in your prime, actually, and I think you could dominate Formula E because for me, we speak with a lot of drivers. There's no other driver that seems to be a complete package like you in terms of the different races, and we saw what you did in Diriyah this year. So
yeah, that was a nice one. That was good memories.
You've got a good record here in London, and next year as well, you can be right at the top again.
Appreciate it.
Really appreciate you giving me time.
Thank you very much.